Today, we're going to a specific time and place, Beijing, the spring of 1989. The world's attention was fixed on one spot, Tiananmen Square. What happened there wasn't just a news story. It was a generation's hope written on banners and a moment of defiance so powerful it was seared into history forever. So picture it. The city is alive. You've got the constant hum of bicycles, the sounds of vendors on the street, just ordinary life. But right underneath all that, something was building. For weeks, this feeling of discontent had been growing, frustration over corruption, and this deep yearning for more freedom, for more of a voice. And it was all about to come together, right in the heart of the nation.
Now, to really get what this felt like, we need to see it through the eyes of the people who were actually there. So, we're gonna follow the journey of a character we'll call Li Wei. He isn't one real person, but he stands for the thousands of students who were at the center of all this. Young, idealistic, with ink-stained fingers from writing posters, and notebooks just filled with dreams for a better future. And this, right here, this was their rallying cry. It was probably whispered between friends at first as they were putting up that very first banner. It wasn't just a shout into the void. It was a demand for real, concrete change. They wanted freedom of the press, an end to corruption, a say in their own lives. They just wanted to be heard.
So how did that quiet plea become this massive roar that filled the largest public square on Earth? Well, let's dive into that. We're gonna see how this protest just exploded into something so much bigger.
I mean, you have to understand, the square completely transformed. It wasn't just a place to protest anymore. It became a living, breathing city, a city built on pure idealism. Tents popped up everywhere for shelter. People built makeshift kitchens to feed thousands. You had poets, professors, and workers all debating the future of China, right out in the open. The air was literally filled with songs of hope. And the sheer scale of it was just staggering. This was not some small, fringe movement. At its peak, you had hundreds of thousands of people there. And not just students. We're talking factory workers, intellectuals, just regular citizens. They all came, drawn by this one powerful shared idea, that they could finally have a voice in their country's destiny. But you know, the real spirit of the movement, you could feel it most at night. The whole square would just change. People would light thousands of candles, and it created this sea of tiny lights in the darkness. It was incredible. It wasn't a scene of anger. It was peaceful. It was this powerful, beautiful symbol of their vigil. This line from our student Li Wei's journal is so important. The protesters were adamant about this. Their actions, they said, came from a place of deep patriotism. This was never about tearing their country down. It was about fighting for its soul, for a future they hoped would be more open, more just, and free. But every story has its turning point, right? And this incredible atmosphere of hope and possibility, it was on a collision course with an immovable force. The whole tone of our story is about to shift dramatically. And when it shifted, it happened fast. For weeks, the square was that city of hope. But then, as May slipped into June, the government's patience just ran out. Martial law was declared, and then under the cover of night, the army arrived. Can you just imagine that sound? The rest of Beijing is quiet, maybe asleep, and then this new sound starts to fill the air. It's not human. It's cold. It's the rhythmic grind of steel tracks on pavement, a kind of mechanical heartbeat, getting louder and closer. It was the sound of dialogue ending. And in the face of all that, they held hands, they stood their ground, and they chanted. This was their last, unified cry. It was a reminder to the soldiers, to themselves, to the world of who they were. Not rebels, not enemies, just the people.
And just like that, with one word, everything shatters. The songs stop, the debates end, the peaceful protest is over. The storm had finally broken.
What followed was just a sensory nightmare. Those chants just dissolved into screams, smoke filled the air. In the total confusion, people were running, banners were falling. That vibrant city of hope was being torn apart. And then, slowly, a new heavy silence started to take its place. But the story doesn't end in the chaos of that night. No, What happened the very next morning would create one of the most famous, most powerful images of the entire 20th century. A single moment of quiet, almost surreal defiance. So the sun comes up on a very different Beijing. The noise, the crowds, the songs, all gone. There's this eerie, heavy quiet hanging over everything, especially the square. And it's in this quiet that the next scene plays out. This moment is it's hard to believe. You've got this incredible imbalance of power. On one side, a column of military tanks, the very definition of state power. And on the other, just one man, an anonymous man, holding 2 shopping bags, like he's just on his way home from the market. And yet, he brings this entire column to a dead stop. It's an absolutely unbelievable standoff. And in that moment, it really felt like the entire world was watching, just holding its breath. One single person standing alone, holding back the machinery of an entire state. It became this instant global symbol of pure courage. Okay, so this brings us to our final section. What happens next? What happens after the tanks move on and the cameras look away? What's the lasting legacy of a moment like this? By the very next evening, the transformation is complete. That city of hope, the tents, the songs, it's all gone. The square has been wiped clean, returned to this vast, empty, silent space. The only physical proof of what happened are the stains on the ground, visible only to those who knew to look for them. And this is where our story comes full circle. We're back with our student Li Wei, and amid all the debris, his notebook is found. This small, fragile thing that somehow survived the chaos. The physical record of all those dreams, all those debates. And this was the final sentence written inside. It's such a profound idea, and it kind of reframes everything, doesn't it? That maybe real freedom isn't just the shouting. Maybe it's the memory, the idea, the spirit that lives on, even after it's been silenced. That quiet internal defiance that can't ever be truly erased. And really, that's the question this whole story leaves us with. Even when the voices are gone, their echoes stays behind. It becomes a part of history, a memory that just refuses to fade away. We've walked through the story, but the feeling of that silence, that's something that resonates long, long after.
Just that final fading whisper of their last chant, a reminder of the human spirit at the very heart of this huge, unforgettable story.